I used to believe that family was forever, that no matter how hard life became, the people you loved would never turn their backs on you. I thought love was enough, loyalty was enough, but life has a cruel way of showing you how wrong you can be. My name is Arav, and this is the story of how my own family traded me for money and how I came back stronger than they ever imagined. It began 5 years ago. My father's business was falling apart, debt piling up faster than we could breathe. We weren't poor, but every month felt like a countdown. I was working at a small accounting firm back then, barely making enough to cover my share of bills. My parents had always been proud. They built everything from scratch, and they never accepted help easily. But that pride slowly turned into silence. At first, it was just tension, quiet dinners, whispered arguments behind closed doors, my mother's smile fading bit by bit. Then my older brother, Arjun, started staying out late. He wore new clothes we clearly couldn't afford. I didn't ask questions. I told myself he was handling things, maybe finding investors. I wanted to believe that. Then, one evening, my father called me into the living room. His voice was heavy. He said, "Arav, we might have to sell part of the company." I nodded. I thought he meant downsizing, maybe letting go of some shares. I didn't know part of the company meant my part, my inheritance, the one thing my grandfather had left specifically to secure my future. Weeks passed. Strangers started visiting our home, investors in crisp suits with smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Arjun became short with me, snapping at simple questions. "You wouldn't understand, Arav," he said once, his tone dripping with disdain. One morning, I came downstairs to find papers spread across the dining table, contracts, bank drafts, signatures, and then I saw it. My name, my signature, except it wasn't mine. My heart stopped. I picked up the documents, my hands trembling. The house felt too quiet. I realized in that moment that my family, my own blood, had forged my signature and sold my inheritance. When I confronted them, everything changed. My mother cried, saying they had no choice, that it was for the family. My father couldn't even look at me. And Arjun just stood there, arms crossed, eyes cold. "You should be thanking us," he said. "You wouldn't have handled it anyway." That was the moment something inside me broke. I packed a small bag, left the house, and didn't look back. There were no shouting matches, no final goodbyes, just the sound of the door closing behind me. I moved to another city, rented a tiny room, and started over. The first few months were brutal. Cheap food, sleepless nights, and a loneliness that ate away at me. I wanted to hate them. I wanted to forget them. But betrayal doesn't fade. It lingers, it shapes you. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Arjun's smirk. That look became my motivation. I promised myself I'd build something that no one could take from me. So I worked, harder than ever. By day, I handled spreadsheets for a logistics firm. By night, I taught myself digital marketing, freelancing online, taking every small job I could find. Slowly, the pieces started fitting together. One client turned into two. Two turned into 10. Eventually, a multinational company offered me a full-time contract, triple the salary I'd ever earned before. I'll never forget that morning. When I got the offer letter, I didn't smile out of pride. I smiled out of relief. For the first time, I wasn't living to prove anything to anyone. I was living for me. Years passed. I built my own consulting firm, hired a small team, and watched my life transform from nothing. But just when peace began to feel normal, I got a message from Arjun. It said, "We need to talk. It's urgent." I almost ignored it, but a part of me, the one still haunted by what they'd done, whispered, "Go." The next morning, I took the train back to my hometown. The town looked smaller now, faded, like something I'd outgrown. My parents greeted me awkwardly, but I could feel the tension. Not guilt, but desperation. The business they'd sold my share of had collapsed. The partner who bought it, a man named Vikram, had cut them off completely. He'd taken control of everything, leaving my family with nothing but debt and regret. My father tried to sound composed when he said, "Arav, we just need a little help getting back on our feet." For a moment, I almost laughed. After all those years, they didn't want forgiveness, they wanted money. I didn't yell, I didn't argue. I just looked at them and said, "You already sold your share of me. You don't get to ask for what's left." Their silence was the only reply I needed. That night, as I sat alone in my old room, the same room where I once dreamed of saving our family, I made a new promise to myself. I wasn't going to help them. I was going to expose everything. So I started digging, quietly. Vikram wasn't just greedy, he was dirty. Hidden accounts, fake contracts, manipulated records. I began collecting evidence piece by piece, connecting dots no one else saw. When I had enough, I reached out to a journalist friend, Rohit. We verified every file, every statement, and when the first article went live, it hit like lightning. Local tycoon under fire for corporate fraud. It didn't name Vikram directly, but everyone knew. The next article did name him, and within days, the man who once boasted of untouchable power was facing a government audit. But the powerful never go down quietly. Vikram fought back, hard. He started a whisper campaign, spreading lies that I had fabricated evidence. Anonymous complaints appeared against me. My firm was suddenly under review. Even my family, the same people he'd destroyed, stayed silent. I realized then that they feared losing their fragile connections more than they cared about truth. Rohit, my journalist friend, got hit too. Legal threats, intimidation, everything they could throw. "They're suing because they can afford to," he told me over the phone, his voice shaking. But he didn't stop. Neither did I. Then Arjun reached out again. He wanted to meet privately. I agreed, half out of curiosity, half out of foolish hope. He looked pale, nervous. "They want me to testify against you," he said. "They offered money, protection." I stared at him, searching for the brother I used to know. "And are you going to take it?" He couldn't answer. I told him quietly, "They'll use you once, then discard you. Think before you sell another piece of your soul." That was the last time we spoke for months. Not long after, an anonymous note appeared on my car windshield. "Stop now. You've made your point." It wasn't fear I felt, it was confirmation. If they were threatening me, they were scared. And then, finally, fate tilted in my favor. A whistleblower, a mid-level auditor from one of Vikram's companies, reached out anonymously. He had copies of emails and audit records proving years of fraud. "I can't live with it anymore," he wrote. "Do what I couldn't." That evidence was the final nail. We encrypted everything, backed it up, shared it with regulators and media. Soon, the story exploded nationwide. Business empire collapses under fraud investigation. Vikram's assets were frozen, his partners arrested. He went into hiding. Justice had arrived, not with noise, but with truth. And, in the process, something else surfaced. Payment trails linking Vikram's shell companies to my family. Small deposits labeled as consulting fees. They had taken hush money to stay quiet. When the authorities called them in for questioning, they finally reached out to me, panicked, desperate, broken. My father's voice shook over the phone. "Arav, please, tell them you knew. Say you agreed. Save us." I said, "You forged my name once. Don't ask me to do it again." And I hung up. The next time I saw them was in a government office, waiting for interviews. None of us spoke. My mother looked down at her hands. My father stared at the wall. Arjun couldn't meet my eyes. When he finally whispered, "You did this," I answered, "No, you did." That was the day the weight I'd carried for years finally lifted. The inquiry ended with Vikram's downfall. My family's reputation was shattered. The town whispered about them the way they once whispered about me. For the first time, they understood what it felt like to be the outcast. Months later, I went to see my mother. She'd sent a short message saying she wanted to talk. She looked older, fragile. "We thought we were saving the family," she said softly, "but we were just saving our pride. I'm sorry." I wanted to stay angry, but I couldn't. I told her, "It's over now." Because forgiveness isn't about them, it's about freeing yourself. That night, I sat by the river near our old house, the same river I used to dream beside as a boy. I realized revenge hadn't healed me, truth had. I hadn't destroyed them. I'd simply stepped aside and let their choices catch up to them. Months passed, then a year. My foundation grew, a scholarship program for students who wanted to learn honest business. The first batch graduated, sending letters of thanks. That meant more to me than any profit ever could. Then one day, a letter arrived from Arjan. "I'm sorry," it read. "I thought money would give me respect. It didn't. I lost everything, including you. I'm leaving the city, starting over." I folded the letter and placed it in my drawer. I didn't reply. Some apologies don't need answers, just understanding. My parents moved away quietly, selling what was left. My mother sends me messages sometimes. I don't ignore them, because even broken love still carries meaning. But I no longer depend on it. I have my own peace now. Sometimes I go back to that river, just to watch the water flow. It reminds me that life never stops, even when you think it's over. I used to think revenge was about making them suffer, but it isn't. It's about reclaiming the power they tried to take from you. It's about looking at the person in the mirror and saying, "You didn't break me, you built me." Once, a student at a university asked me if I'd do anything differently. I thought for a moment and said, yes, I'd have stopped begging them to see my worth sooner. Because the real victory isn't when your enemies fall. It's when you stop needing them to notice you at all. They left me for money, but I came back stronger. Not richer in wealth, but richer in peace. And in the end, that's what mattered most. They lost me for a handful of notes, and I found myself, worth more than all the money in the world.